Manager, you sent a couple things today via email
How come it said we're recording?
It will.
because it's slow internet.
Get that on YouTube first.
It's Comcast.
Yeah, there's two changes I sent out.
Lag.
I just turned that off, so we're good for that.
Why is this thing so laggy? The words in my house. My kid's slamming around.
Everything started.
So the first change is Department 27, page 26, in the public utilities. 506510 is the line number, traffic signals and maintenance. Looking at our current expenditures, we're at $26,000. We budgeted for 25. So I'd like to increase that by 7,000. Talked to Dennis today about that. I think it's just costs going up, and as well as, our traffic signals are getting older. So that should get us through.
So you want to go to 107?
No.
Oh, I'm looking at street lights, sorry.
32,000.
Yeah, gotcha.
And because we've been doing some capital programs all along, we'd like to make one change. Doesn't change the cost, but the public works loader is out of commission. So we'd like to move the loader up to this fiscal year and drop the 2 plow truck to next fiscal year. Price is the same.
Works for me. Well, that's just a straight swap, right?
I'm sorry. what
Should
was
we
that here?
That's under Department 26, page 25, capital programs. It's public works vehicle and equipment capital.
Yeah.
You're just gonna see one total there.
Yeah.
But all of our briefs, we had all of the equipment listed. We're just putting the loader and taking one of the trucks off.
Got it.
All right. It's all yours, Pam. Tell us where you are.
I can basically say to you that we're doing a whole lot more than we were last year this time. We had a very successful winter season. Programs were loaded and wait lists were back in play. The online software that we have is a miracle worker as far as communicating with people and keeping everybody in the know when things happen. You're looking at our staff, and as I had told you before, Nick Vermet was helping us, and Jerry, and they have 25 hours between them each week. And thank God we have evening coverage because of COVID. We were able to provide the school district with a plan of how we were going to handle being in the gym, back tracing, and between Nick and Jerry, somebody covered every night of the week when we had programs, and they went from gym to gym and watched over everything. We didn't particularly have any teams that we had to cancel for a weekend because of the virus, but outlying towns did. So it was quite, it was good to have our mechanism to control and watch over everything. We couldn't have done it without having had that ability, and it was great because Nick and Jerry switched off every other night, and there was a book that they carried with them that had attendance. So if we got a call of a COVID case, we were able to tell the family or the teams that their parent, the parents just to be a heads up. We didn't tell them to quarantine. We didn't tell them what they had to do. We just said, this is to notify you that you may have been a close contact, and you can decide how you choose to handle that. We did not run an open gym this fall or winter, simply because of COVID and numbers and gym issues, not gym issues, but just wanting to be sure that we were keeping it controlled and knowing that we had everything. So we've gotten through it and start looking towards spring. Numbers are looking good. We'll start registering March 1st. Things were great last fall. Although I will say the year that we stayed in Topsham and we didn't open to the district, we didn't have any issues, but last fall we did as COVID started popping up. But that was okay. It was what it is when we entailed having kids together. All in all, we've had very successful programs all year long. The only things that we really changed or did any different was the Halloween parade. We no longer are doing it up at the mall. And a lot of you partook as well in the trick or treating at the fairgrounds, and that's taken off and people like it and really enjoyed it. And this year we were able to hire Charlie Crosby to provide music, which added to the atmosphere. And we had 23 departments, businesses, schools that participated, so it was a good turnout. So we've had a good year of getting through everything. Budget, I guess that's our staff there. Happy to say we have had our best year for ice ever. I can't say whether that's the weather or that the guys finally listened to me when I told them that they had to pound the snow into the ground after I took an ice making class, but the lights have been used all winter. And we've had nothing but kudos from people for having it there. And tonight, I know I went out to the vets, and on my way back through, there were 10 kids on the ice skating. So I think it's been worthwhile, especially if there's no snow in the mountains. Okay. See, I talked about the top little kickers. We started a 3rd and 4th grade lacrosse program last year. We ordered a pickleball set that we have for people to rent if they want to go out and play on the basketball courts. We have the lines there. Having Zoom made our coaches and refereeing trainings much more successful. And I kind of gave you the short and sweet on the program specialties, COVID up and down. This last summer, we partnered with USTA for tennis lessons. We registered people. They provided us with instructors. They were the same 2 instructors we had before because our instructors are residents and certified instructors, Andrea Gorgosian and Jason Terry. Both are professionals over at Maine Pines in Brunswick. So they ran our summer program and it was successful. We reshingled the dugouts on Foreside this year, replaced the doors on the concession stand. Definitely made improvements on ice making, purchased a portable mound for Foreside so we can either play softball or baseball there and just put the mound out. Increased the parking lot at the mountain biking area without taxation help. We got that all handled by volunteers and community groups. And we were able to let Hillside after a long round of being used while the high school team was down on Riverside. So it was a good year to let them and give the neighborhood a rest as well. Just some of our programs.
That'd be Bill Thompson.
Hey, Bill, can you mute by any chance? Thank you.
Can you push it back?
It's a Navy chief right now.
Next slide, please. For the year going forward, increases that you'll see in us are payroll with the COLA, insurance and retirement, workers' comp, general programs. We're increasing $3,000 because of different levels. And if you look at our revenue side, you'll see that that's increased as well because we see them how they match up and offset each other. Gasoline, based on the contract from the state, is going up. And we asked for an additional $700. We want to do a food truck event, and in presenting my budget to Derek and Mark, Derek kind of bought it, and we've discussed doing it at the same time that you guys do the Selectmen's Business Expo, so that it would be a draw to have people come for food trucks and have community businesses here at the same time, and really try to make it more of an event that's community participation and provides businesses. So we'll work with that for the fall. Expenditures decreases. I feel strange saying this, but electricity's gone down.
It was just the usage, it was based on the usage
Yeah,
and the new rate.
The LED lights.
Well, the lights we were able to put in, as Matt had asked, we were able to put in LEDs. Swear I haven't paid a bill over $25 since we've gone to the new one. The ski program, we're no longer accepting, or we don't need to have money in there. If anything, we'll have revenue coming back to us because they now register through the mountain. And then Mountain sends us a kickback check afterwards for handling the people and communicating with them. And then the expenditure that I just leaned over to Derek and said, I've ordered Topsham Tractor. Is we're gonna have a aerator delivered to us, and it's gonna be roughly 3,400. So we're well under what we had budgeted and planned for. The only other holdup, which you guys will ask, is the truck. 2 weeks ago, we got notification that it was off the line and it was ready to deliver. And Detroit has shut down because of the Canadian crisis, so it's sitting in a lot up there waiting to be delivered. So I did hear that from the Salesforce person from O'Connor today, so.
They were looking for any excuse they could find to say why it hasn't arrived. So the
Kind of
trucks are
seems
on the other
strange
side.
to me if they're putting other ones off a lot, but the ones that are already
Yeah,
spoken for haven't
Yeah.
come, so. So we changed our revenues, the highlighted ones you'll see increases and changes in. And that is basically us.
I have a question about special programs. Did you help out at all this year with the winter chill thing that just went down?
It's happening this coming weekend.
Right, stats.
Okay.
Are you throwing any funding at that?
I'm using what I normally spend on the Valentine dance.
Gotcha.
And I don't know what's gonna happen going forward, but this year, that's the money we're gonna use to buy supplies. Thursday night, I'm giving a report to you on the winter chill.
Very good.
What's gonna happen and how many departments are involved. We've met the library, ourselves, the Public Works Department, the Fire Department, and the Police Department are all participating. It's gonna be a community-driven event, so, and we're anxious to have it happen.
Yeah, that might sound kind of odd, but I mean, it sounds pretty cool. It might warrant maybe budgeting
Some more money.
in light of it, I guess we can see how it goes this year, but maybe.
You heard, he said I could add money to
You
my.
said- you heard it, consider next year. There's something to do in February, my goodness.
Buy the salt.
And I have a question under general, $3,000 increase.
That was what I had in my slideshow to you, was
That's what I
just an
thought.
increase in programs
Yeah.
and numbers in younger age divisions.
And we get that back? though,
Yeah, it
through
comes
the
back on the
okay,
other
that's what
side.
I thought I
Yeah.
heard you said. That's
Yeah.
why I wanted to. And then your electricity is the only one that's gone down. So that's good.
Can't explain that one.
Well,
Usage?
I can look, yeah, it's all usage. Kathy, look at the numbers, you know. Some people are making out. What does it say?
I'm not paying for electricity at the concession stand at all. That's got like a zero. I'm only paying for the rental of the poles and what little use we get for the LED, but that's, like I said, I haven't paid more than $25 since you signed the agreement.
I just have one question.
Mhm.
The last 5 to 10 years, is the enrollment is steady, is it going down?
So we saw a huge drop when the Navy base closed.
Right.
But that has built up between housing and changes, and we pretty much have matched. What I do is I follow the trend with the elementary schools with demographics, and as they go up, we go up. So we definitely, I mean, we're in the newsletters, we work with the principals of both the schools, we have a pretty good relationship there.
That's it? There we go. Thanks, Pam.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bill said it must have been in that.
She assisted at the clock.
Marie's now joining us too.
Hi there. It's nice to see you actually in person, with no mask. So I'm very happy about that. So Department 23, Topsham Public Library. This is a picture from one of our summer programs. We had a tent last year, and we're going to be doing that again this year. And so people were able to sit outside and have book discussions and all the general activities, as much as was possible in a COVID environment. So, next slide. This is the year that we assessed our Monday openings. As you remember, the Library Board of Trustees offered $20,000 for 3 years out of our Solomon bequest to open on Mondays. And Monday and Friday, we are open the same amount of time. So it's 9 to 6 on Monday and on Friday. Even in the pandemic, we were within 25 people of each Monday and Friday. We actually have I didn't give you the full chart with, each individual Friday and Monday, which I can do if you're interested. But we were very pleased to see that was going so well. And as you notice, even from 2020 when we first started, that was in the summer, and in July 1. So we had a big start, and then of course COVID reaction and all that other stuff. So but we were down to 86 on Mondays, but coming back up again. So we think that that's a very successful program. So that brings us to 6 days a week, 56 hours.
So that's how you plan on negotiating that with the board? It's just presenting here tonight like this?
We were going to talk about it. I think that when I talked to Derek about whether we should meet ahead of time, the idea was that we were going to do this first and then have a conversation. Is that correct?
It doesn't seem to be the way we've done things between our two groups.
We didn't meet this fall. We wanted,
In general,
yeah.
It's not how we've done things, that we bring it, we put it in a budget, and then we come and talk about it. It's not how it's been done. It just kind of surprises me that this is how the approach is being done.
What we've done is we brought out the success of it. In our budget, we put $20,000 into our materials budget. And this is a draft. This is a draft budget that we are talking about. When we, in the fall, when we usually get together, for whatever reason, we didn't get together this year. My board would love to get together and have the conversation, but we were basically under the impression that this was the conversation that you all wanted to have. Here.
What?
Well,
That doing
we
it like
usually
this?
have a
I know what we usually have,
right,
and we also have a memorandum of understanding that we agree to do things a certain way.
correct.
And we had intentions of coming back
Yes,
and discussing this together,
okay,
and then to have this just put into a budget without any of it, it surprises me
okay.
that it's done that way.
How it shook out was we didn't have a meeting in the fall. That was one thing. And the thing that I was not aware of is $20,000 not being part of the budget. We met in January. with the department heads.
And that's where the issue is, quite frankly, it's, if you make the decision to just take away the revenue portion of it, all on your own, without a conversation,
This is the conversation, isn't it?
but that's not how we've ever approached anything else, Susan.
Okay.
Nothing else. We've got a memorandum of understanding
Mhm.
that we will treat you this way, but when it came for you guys to do something, you didn't do it that way. It's disappointing.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I know that there was no intention of creating a problem or doing something differently. You know, I would have liked to have sat down and met with you all. I was under the impression that that was not happening this year.
Okay, well, I will say that there was no impression of it happening a certain way. We didn't meet, for whatever reason. I went down and talked to the board a couple of times.
Right, yeah,
When it came to the budget, when we met in January,
yeah.
it was normal budget, everything was fine. The difference was the library decided not to include the $20,000 in revenue. So here we are.
Okay. If this is an issue, would you be willing to have a conversation with the board? We'll take it off the table.
I find it as an issue personally.
You know,
That it's not
we're
being
happy to take
discussed.
it off the table and then discuss it, you know, together.
Yep.
Maybe we could, you know, create a situation where we pay half and you pay half. You know, since we've added that additional $20,000, we're not taking anything away. We're actually adding that money back into our budget for materials. So rather than having it in the payroll line, we're taking 20 grand and putting it into our materials line. That's what we can do. If you would prefer to have it the other way around, we can do that. That just means fewer materials. And, you know, again, this is the kind of thing that I think we have a communication issue. And
Oh,
I would really love to
I think our
work our
issue
way
is
through this.
that we're not, I think maybe it's time that we start discussing, what does it take to bring the library under the umbrella of the town of Topsham? I think some of that needs to start being discussed. That if you're a department or not a department, we've got to start having that discussion. I think the town needs to do that. I think it's increasing quickly. I just think it's time. And I think that's where we have some of the issues in communication.
Now, as I remember, we still have wondered how come we hadn't met this year.
Right,
I did wonder why we didn't have a meeting at your
Right,
place,
right.
but I never heard anything at
right.
all.
We didn't have because usually we meet with 2 members of the finance committee, 2 members of the selectmen.
Right,
Town manager and me, 2 board members and my board.
Right.
And we had this conversation. I don't know whether it was because everything was COVID related and things were, you know, but I did ask Derek when we were going to do that, and you had said, well, let's wait until December and January when we have our discussion. And, you know,
so,
I'm happy to, I mean, my board has asked me to convey to you all that we really want to have conversations with you. We are concerned, particularly, you know, with this coming up, the first slide, that, you know, there's something we're not getting, or that we're not communicating well. And it has been, I mean, I've been here 17 years, for 17 years. We'd really like to just like sit down and get it done and figure out what it is, what the issue is. You know, as a 501c3 organization, we provide a certain amount of value to the town. You know, we think anyway, and our patrons do. But, you know, clearly, if we're not able to sit down and have more time with each other, I know everybody's busy. You are all busy. My guys are busy too. But, you know, this was not meant to be a circumvention of anything. This was 3 years. Is it successful? We think it's successful. And our understanding was that if it was successful, then we would move forward with that.
see, I didn't understand that.
Okay.
I thought we were going to discuss it and review it. And I think your words would look at it, and I think the board understood that. That was my recollection. I don't know if I was right.
That's how I
So,
took it.
Yeah.
So this was the result. And that's what we wanted to bring to your attention. We do not need to have this in the budget at this point. We can remove it if that's something that you feel strongly about, and, but I do think there needs to be a conversation about it.
And I thought we
If
were
we can.
going under, so it surprises me you say that there's been an issue, because I felt that our relationship between us, the town and the library, has been as good as it had
Yeah,
been. And this caught me off guard,
Right.
that you guys, under the darkness of night, in my opinion, don't come in and have a conversation. You say you're not gonna pay the $20,000, you keep it in the budget, and don't have that conversation. Where for years, we've been having
Right.
conversations. But I never received a thing from you or your board,
Right.
as the chairman of the select board, that we want to have a conversation, whether it be through the manager or anybody.
Okay, then I apologize that that did not happen. It was my understanding is that the boards did not want to do that this year, at this point, at the November. meeting.
Susan.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go back and forth.
Right,
Maybe not how it works.
yep,
You know, there wasn't a meeting.
right.
It wasn't because of any lack of communication.
No.
between the board.
I mean,
But at no point did the library or the board come to the town to say, let's talk about this 3-year review
okay,
of how it went. So
okay,
needless to say, we are where we are.
Yep.
But I do
So-
think that there needs to be some.
there needs to be a conversation, absolutely.
We've got
And
time. I mean.
Yeah, no, there's time. but
there's
it
still
needs
time to
yeah.
do it. So, you know, if we stick a pin in that, and we will have that conversation.
Is that what works?
May I put my 2 cents in?
Sure.
Yeah. I really appreciated getting the full financial
Yeah.
statement, everything coming in.
Yeah,
And to me, I feel like we're making a mountain out of a molehill right now, because all of this stuff is preliminary.
yeah,
All of it's up for discussion, all
Sure.
of it's up for negotiations. And I'm not sure why this has become such a big issue, but it seems like it's
there was
something
no
that can be
disrespect
dealt
meant.
with and we can move on.
Because-
There was no disrespect meant.
There's been a meeting every fall
Okay.
in determining both boards agreeing this is how they're gonna move
Mhm.
forward. You know, keeping their staff up to par. And I think, have you been part of them? Have you been?
Yeah.
In the
Okay.
past, yeah,
So for that
not to happen.
to have not happened, and then a specific item that came before us that said, and we'll review it. And we've changed completely how we've reviewed anything, whether it be, you know, we had meetings when it was bringing their staff back up to par
Mhm.
where they chose for years not to give their employees raises.
Mhm.
We came to the table and we had those meetings, but to not have it this year and have it presented in this manner, I don't think it's just little things.
Again, I apologize. I was unaware that I was responsible for making sure that we get everything ready at the right time. I thought I was doing what you were asking. Clearly, I have misunderstood, and we need to stick a pin in it and get that conversation had. I apologize on behalf of the library, on behalf of the library board of trustees. There was absolutely no disrespect meant in any way. This was not something that was done under the cover of darkness. We really wanted to have the conversation, and we thought that this was the venue. So our mistake, I apologize. Let's get together as soon as possible. Perhaps you and I should coordinate time
I leave tomorrow. So
for
10 days.
for 10 days. All right, well, so we'll get to it
Yes, no, but we
in
will.
that case. All right,
Susan, I
Yes.
have another question.
Yes.
You have the Patreon count. Is there somewhere where, what are the other days a week? What are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturdays count?
I can get those for you if you
Yeah.
like. Yeah,
At some point.
oh, sure,
It's just-
absolutely.
It's
'Cause
curiosity.
It's a different schedule, so we're there from 9 to 8
Yeah.
on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Right.
And then we started Wednesdays as well. So-
Yeah, and I understand that. I just
Yeah.
kind of would like to see
Sure,
those
sure,
days. Yeah.
that was good. No problem. Okay, can we move to the next slide? Are you okay with that? Next slide, please. We're not.
So,
Next slide.
Oh, beyond this one.
Yeah.
We had
Oh,
done
I'm
this-
sorry.
we had done this
Okay.
one.
So what we've asked for is, our municipal budget request is 812, 632. It's a 4.7% increase at $36,594. This maintains our 15% 85 agreement with the MOU. And then these are the changes. There are some increases and some decreases. Actually, no increases, but no decreases. So most of it is what you've heard, I'm sure, from other departments. Personnel increases, the cost of living, benefits increase, our supplies increased due to inflation. Library materials, we received an announcement from vendors in December to let publishers and bookstores and libraries know that they are going to be increasing at least 6%. We split that cost and we increased our budget for the town for the materials that you provide at 3%. So that is a $660 increase, and that is a 3% increase from last fiscal year. Again, we have added the $20,000 into our materials budget as well. So there's a significant increase there.
Can you back up? Why wouldn't that be put in the payroll system? I mean, where the 20,
Increases to
the 20,000.
materials?
Yeah.
To materials?
Yeah. I mean, towards the person that if we do the full-time and the library doesn't pay for it, but the town, that $20,000 can't go for payroll.
It could. But it's, I mean, it's, as far as, you know, when we looked at our budget, it was
It's
sort of
just a question.
apples
I
to
just-
oranges. Yeah,
just
I mean,
where-
we can have that conversation.
Yeah.
Again, this is, I'm representing a board.
Right, I know.
And so you know, if I got to make all the policy, cool, but, you know, so we can have that conversation. Utilities went up, as per the town. We changed the placement of our HRA cost. It was really, it's just, it's clerical, would you say?
Yeah, I just wanted to be more consistent with the way we show it on the town level, that's all.
Right. And we realized after they had last year, we had worked, thankfully, the town public works department worked with us on fixing those window jam issues that we had. We realized we really needed a good exterior window cleaning, and so we added $1,000 there. And I think that is the end. I do have a copy of our full library, all resources, all sources. You sent that.
It was the
out,
same
right?
way I sent out electronically today.
So if anybody wants one in paper, I've got one. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Much appreciated. I
Sure.
like seeing all of it.
Yeah, we have been able to have 4 or 5 on our software that we can just sort of mish it together again. Hey, how cool is that?
I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
under, Sewer, water, electricity.
Mhm,
Your electricity is going up $7,000 because of costs.
mhm. That was what the manager suggested.
The water and sewer was gonna go up, but for everybody, but
sewer's flat, I think.
What-
sewer's flat.
Sewer's flat.
What we did
water was up.
with water and sewer for the smaller accounts, take a look at what our actuals were over the last couple of
Okay.
years. Determine if we were a little high, we kind of kept it low.
Thank you.
Yeah, sewers are flat. What's the Natural gas been doing
14% increase is what we're expecting.
Mhm.
So it's not higher.
Yeah, it's still going up every month it goes.
Any questions? Not good.
Once
Thank you.
again, my apologies. We will absolutely make this right.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
So capital program.
Yeah, I think the rest of them will be relatively easy since we went over most of it already. Yeah, just a summary for capital programs. We talked about establishing vehicle accounts for public works, fire, and police. If there's any questions for that? No? Okay, great. Again, for public works, that's the only change that we made compared to the previous presentations when we talked about capital programs. Nothing's changed with fire EMS or police or solid waste. Next. And this is taken just strictly from the spreadsheets that everybody has for capital programs. For capital replacement, we had around 175 last year. We decided to decrease that to 125, keep the expenses down a bit. Our current balance today is $233,716 in that account. The select board policy is to cap this account at $500,000. Capital maintenance remains the same. For the last couple of years, we've been right there. So there's no reason to increase that as we see right now. There's a few repairs that we know are on the horizon here, but we frankly just can't get contractors to come out right now. So I feel comfortable with that amount. The capital replacement for office equipment, associated gear, it's primarily IT tech comms, other things that has remained unchanged for the last few years. We are currently looking at copiers to replace the 2 big copiers we have here at Town Hall. So we're still going out to vendors right now and determining whether we lease or buy, but those will need to be replaced here next year or 2. Paving, as we described during the public works brief, remains the same at $650. We talked about assessing. Our current balance in that account is $128,253. And we talked during the police department presentation about the camera and security system. So we got an estimate for $18,000 for public safety, and a little bit more than, a little less than $7,000 for town hall. Next.
I will say, someone brought it up and seeing it again. You know, the assessing number for that revaluation, we're well shy, and
We're well
it just
shy.
seems as if we had something to, you know, some more to put,
So this
something
year,
for the groups to think about.
right, and where I was going with that is this year, given our healthy fund balance, originally put $250,000 towards this reval. After talking to Justin and realizing that it's only Vision and KRT, the 2 companies out there doing it right now. We're not going to.
We know what we're behind.
So everything that Justin talked about will be fine. And based on what we're doing right now, our capital programming for the next couple of years is not as much as it has been for a couple. So we'll have money to put into that account the next year or 2.
Yeah, I think so.
Public utilities, part 27. Streetlights based on actuals, we had programmed $100,000 into that line, increase of 5. Talked about traffic signals and maintenance earlier, we did increase that by 7,000. Our current expenditures this year is 26,000 and change, so we're above budget right now as it stands. And for the hydrant rentals, talking to Brunswick Thompson Water District, a phenomenal employee who works there, gave me some figures, and so we're looking at about 335,000 this year. I projected that to be higher, but once I got the actual estimates from them.
Is that kind of because there are more hydrants now, or just?
I think it's a combination of operating costs, and more importantly, it's the debt service for the construction of the new building, which we started paying for last year.
if we hit a drought, though, we'll never see a water increase cost because everyone will water their lawn. They'll have plenty of money. So we'll save money.
Insurance, Kathy's here to talk about most of it, but I just have two highlights here. The HRA is adjusted to the average use percentage. So we talked about this last year and the year before when we first started the HRA, we're funding, I think, around 100%. So Kathy, over the last year and a half, has been over those numbers and then we reduced that to exactly what our usage is. So it's not above. So we've got some experience now and we're starting to see where that falls out.
Hey, Derek, real quick, are we gonna hold questions for 26 until after you're done?
Yeah, that would be good.
Perfect.
Okay. And our unfunded liability payroll adjustment, again, that's for wage and benefit changes and compensated absences, some terminates employment you can pay out. So we've done a really good job, I think, in the last 2.5 years, making sure that we have that line funded.
But is that a carryover line?
It is a carryover line.
Okay.
We're at least 100% funded
Yeah.
and we can move for benefits or wages if we need to. If there's any other questions, you give the aspects. Make sure I find.
Just on the, let me just say, you see type of demographics in terms of people hire.
The HRA is being
HRA, sorry.
used, yeah, so what Kathy did, Kathy might want to explain it, but basically with each department.
So basically, what we used to do is budget for the maximum liability, where we, some of the different plans, there were either 2, 4, or 3, 6, or 4, 8. And basically, I just looked at what was going on in the last 3 years, how much we actually used, because once you get to the end, if somebody has a catastrophic accident, once they've met their out of pocket, the HRA is done, they're done. And, they're not on the hook for it. But basically what we were looking at is the average amount of usage and how many people were maxing out, and kind of took an average of that in order to bring it down instead of budgeting it at 100%. That's for the HRA piece. The insurance is with Maine Municipal Association, and that was based on their guidance, was strictly a 5% increase was when they were, what they're telegraphing to us anyway. They telegraphed us 5% last year too. We didn't quite see a 5% increase. But
Basically, employee turnover doesn't impact.
No,
no, but the only thing it would impact is in your fleet, in your package, I mean, you're still gonna have a loss. You're still gonna get a rating on how many claims you have, and they're still gonna stick with you for 5 years. And I don't believe we have any issues in that area, not that I'm aware of anyway.
just a reminder, group HRA health reimbursement account, that money if unused goes back into the town as opposed to an HSA, which the employee keeps. It's been very beneficial for our employees. I think it's a great benefit to have. It's not all that costly. Any questions with insurance? No. And intergovernmental assessments, Sag County and Sag 75, as we discussed earlier, we have no idea yet. But in this budget, we plan for 5% for each of those organizations.
And what is the finance? So it's.
They have a lady from Sanford who's filling in temporarily.
Okay.
So she basically just picked up where Mark Conrad left off. He had done a lot of work prior to leaving. So, thank goodness he did.
Yeah, that's what was my concern, is that she doesn't have any sort of historical knowledge. I mean,
So yeah, I think they worked together for a little bit, but she seems to be very knowledgeable. And the future finance meetings that people go to, they'll be able to see how they're handling it. An overlay, Justin described that the other day for you. And
Can we take that break? This is, could be longer.
sure.
Can we get back to the 26 before, I mean, we've all stepped in.
You ever see that email from MMA today regarding vegetarian?
I have not, the projection just came out,
Yeah,
I haven't seen it.
gotcha. She was saying, or the update was that, see revenue sharing distribution, 5% of state sales and income tax as of July 2022, and increases from 70 to 73% state reimbursement for lost property tax. It's not a ton, but it's still going in the right direction at least.
You can take it a lot higher than that, given the
Yeah, so
rosy pictures you.
I'm on the website right now and the forecast is about.
So, I had a couple of questions about capital. One, we still don't have a generator in town hall or public safety, right?
We don't,
Oh, safety, yeah.
public safety, sorry, public safety has one. And it requires maintenance. We upped that line last year. So we're still below. The budget is about $1,700 for maintenance of that. A year and a half ago, we had a company come out to do an estimate and requirements evaluation, what we need here for the program. They never got back to us. So the intent is in the next 2 years to at least budget for it.
Cool, that's what I can suggest.
Would that be a propane driven, do you think?
You know,
The one over there is diesel.
yeah. It'd be great if we had natural gas. come through, but I would assume it's propane. I mean, I'm sorry, diesel.
Don't we?
What if we did? I don't know if we have it coming through the lines here or not. Dennis, do you know?
Natural gas.
Straight out.
Natural gas.
It's available.
Okay,
I come right up through Roma Joe.
so that'd be something we look into.
Cool. My other question had to do with side by side. I touched on this a little bit last week or last time we met regarding the 2 ATVs out back. And how they've been here for quite some time now, and how they've been defended every year as necessary. So I'm just kind of curious if that was still the case. I hate to talk about this without the chief here, but I think his biggest point last week was that ATVs don't have seatbelts. So I guess my question would be, why wasn't that considered when we first purchased them? Why was that not an issue? I know you weren't here for that.
Way back.
Yeah, so maybe
right,
somebody
Mike.
here can answer that question.
Michael.
The ATV over there is purchased by the police department for use of the patrolling the outside trails we got up. When we first got the ATVs going around here, they were high demand, a lot of complaints, so the police department got a ATV. The second ATV was a foreclosure. Basically, the police department done something, and the settlement was they turned over the equipment to us.
It was a drug
Came
pump.
from,
Drug confiscation.
something like that, yes.
So I've done a little bit of, thank you, done a little bit of internet research last week about maybe using what we have. And I know the chief's point about putting a pump and a hose and a gurney on the side by side was positive, but they also sell those for trailers for ATVs. So I think the only downside to purchasing a trailer with skid pack or a gurney would be that it wouldn't have a roll bar at this point. That's really what I'm looking
I'd say that's true. Just,
at. So, and we also, I mean, we talked a little bit about how there's increased recreational activity at the dump now, which is definitely true. So I mean, if we have 2 ATVs, we could stick one out there with a trailer, and we could keep one here with a trailer, and I think it would still be a lot cheaper than 55 grand. Just my personal opinion after looking at some of the prices for the trailers for ATVs themselves. But I mean, Chief does have a point about safety. I mean, I remember Topsham trail riders right now, and I can tell you that because the chief mentioned something about a flipped snowmobile last year, but I think the number of accidents, at least that we're aware of, hasn't been very high, or the need for pulling someone out of the woods. And if there is that need, then I think trail riders would be happy to fill a role or a niche there if need be, as opposed to purchasing something of that magnitude.
Well, I thought it was more than a safety issue. I thought it was, my impression was that you could equip the new vehicle with a lot more functionality than what you could put on an ATV.
Yeah, that's what I was saying with the trailer. So the chief had mentioned you could put a gurney a seat, or you can put a pump for forest fire issues on the back of the side by side. You can do the same thing with an ATV, you just need to buy trailer for it. And hook it up to the ATV. Whereas the side by side right now alone is probably gonna cost $40,000 brand new, if not more than that. And then outfitting it with the pump and the gurney inserts, that brings us up to $55,000 cost. So I mean, take that as you will. It's just my thought that it seems like we could use what we have now, possibly to just enhance what the chief was suggesting.
I just don't think they're gonna, not to argue your
Not at
point,
all.
they're just not gonna use it.
I don't think they're gonna use the other one either. If there was a need for this equipment, it would have been used over the last several years. That stuff hasn't been, the chief might not have used it since he's been here. That stuff wasn't used when they were fighting for it. It's wasteful, frankly. And I think that the Topsham Trail Riders option for the once or twice a year is a great option to do something with a group.
Since I don't have chief here,
Yeah, we can take-
Oh, we're gonna debate this anyway,
Well,
as
you
soon
know-
as we break away.
maybe while
Well,
Mike's here to talk about that.
That was talked about for 3 years now, before I get done. We were trying to get a grant from Firehouse Sub to buy this thing, but he was there. We talked to several times, there's several options, so we could have used it before, we couldn't. That's why we wanted to do the safety. 2 people instead of 1 person on the ATV and stuff out there. And it had it was taking wheels off with tracks for snow and stuff like that, so it was ideal for what's coming up in the area here for outside use. So we've been trying for 3 years to replace these things. And we just failed at the Firehouse Sub grant. So that's why you put in the budget this year, trying to get it. But the need is there, just so we can find the funding. I'm sure he has more reasons than that, but that's what we're doing before. We talked about the birthday gift, jump, the AEDs, everything else they carry out there, get for a field thing, so. That's what we did.
In each of the meetings that you have with the finance committee, select board, let me know which issues are, you're really concerned about. I'd like to bring the department heads back in to at least be able to explain in more detail some of the questions they had.
Well, whether we go with
They'll
either
just do
way,
what we tell them.
I
Quite frankly.
appreciate the research and trying to save us a few dollars if it's sufficient for working. And like you said, with the trail riders, I appreciate the effort of researching.
They're probably pretty old, right?
If I may, in regards to the trail riders and volunteers, just remember, last fall, there was a shooting, accidental shooting, like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, to start making phone calls, get volunteers to come out and service that area and get a hunter that's been shot out of the woods into a hospital facility is gonna all take time. So I think by having something staffed and in-house might make a quicker response under emergency situations. They had a bull hunter fall out of a tree and get hurt. Start making phone calls, get volunteers off the local clubs to come pick them up and get them out of the woods. Just takes time. I'm just mentioning in that regard.
And we're talking once a year. I mean,
Pardon?
we're talking once a year, maybe.
You know what the life worth?
We could do that all night long, Matt, Mike, I mean, good lord. If
That's my
we're gonna talk about
That's my own
life,
pattern word.
if we're gonna talk about life, then we got a big problem to go
That's
with.
correct.
So what did we do last year to get the guy? Did he just sit there or what happened?
I wasn't around, I was after I get done, but
Five
I
pickup.
believe a pickup truck around the woods.
Five pickup.
Yes.
So that worked then.
The right spot.
This is the truck, getting the guy out of the woods with the truck. worked.
I understand. I wasn't here. I didn't see that one, so I can't help.
Fair enough. That's all I got. Thank you, sir.
And debt service.
Have you talked to somebody about 5% SAD 75?
No.
I'm just hearing all kinds of rumors,
Well, you've attempted,
but you don't.
but they're not
I've-
giving you.
Yeah, I've reached out multiple times, but they, so I can tell you a year and a half ago, Mark was still here. Their fund balance was healthy. And, I think we planned on 4%, as it turns out, it was a little bit 1%.
Right.
And it became lower after our tax commitment was kind of finalized. So, 5%, they're going to about $600,000. So I just don't know. That first meeting I attended, they had a lot on the program, but nothing was really looked at yet or cut. It was closely held, and the audience didn't have a book to look at. It wasn't on their website.
I think state programs are a little underutilized over the last couple of years too. We've done a lot of money from the state, and I don't believe that somebody has capitalized on all that money.
So where this really comes into play here for us, without cutting the municipal, anticipating what the school is going to be.
No, I don't think we can do, I don't think we should do that, but
Our remaining debt service is 4.2 million. Which is on a slide, and it's also in your books, is those are our 4 remaining bonds. And this,
No, not to interrupt, but I am. There were 2 that we can call early, right, and pay off.
the ones that are highlighted,
Right. Can you increase the payment on the rest of them at all?
I think in $5,000 increments, is that correct, Kathy?
What are you talking about?
If we wanted to incrementally pay, at one time, I think we can pay off in $5,000 increments on these bonds.
Oh, the ones that are callable, yes.
But not the rest of them, you can't.
No, the bottom 2 are, and then the bond bank,
And they're set in stone and there's
They're
nothing you
set.
can do.
exactly.
So,
How do you get callable bonds? I mean, generally, they charge a higher interest rate.
Usually, what happens is usually a bond is 20 years, and usually they put the call in at 10. And that's what we're,
Oh, okay, after you've already basically paid down, you just have to.
then you can do a bond. Yeah, there was a big, huge section of time where everybody was refinancing, and all those financial advisors, they made a killing. Because everybody, so in addition to doing a bond issue every year, you were doing at least 1 or 2 refis also, because the interest rates were dropping. But it's usually 20 years, 10 years, you can do something.
we discussed it.
So with that first bond, that original principal amount was 7.5 million-ish. I think the interest rate was 3%. So we paid one. This is our 10th year paying that bond.
That bond was a refunding also, so that had already been
that's right.
refunded bonds.
And the second highlighted bond, the quorum savings bond, was 2 million if it wasn't refinanced. So, given our healthy fund balance, that these were callable in the budget, what's included in the budget is paying fiscal year 26 for the BYN Mellon bond, the remainder of the quorum savings bond. So what's in the budget right now, that's included. And I'm assuming if the school and the county isn't too far out of what we're projecting, we're within our fund balance, sitting on a little bit on the high side. Now, for consideration, as I have presented in the budget, if the school budget and county come in lower, or right around where we have budgeted, I would seriously consider paying off the BNY Mellon bond in total. The interest savings will be approximately $130,000 minus fees for closing that bond out. But it'll bring the fund balance lower than the current policy. Policy prior to the current one, which was, I think, established in 2016, was between 12 and 16% was the select board policy, and that's where we'd be probably closer to 12.5 to 13%.
But each year, yeah, so each year I've been on here and every budget I've been through, we've had a healthy leftover money each year, not by design, not by, it's through people leaving and other things either happening or not happening. And I just have a hard time sitting on taxpayers' money and that much money left over. Now, I don't disagree with the Millen paying that off, but it's just mine. I can't speak for the rest of the board, but it's, if you were to loan money, you'd get interest on it. This is taxpayers' money that a lot of things we have in government that people out working don't have. That's where I'm coming from. And this is just my feeling, and I could be right and I could be wrong, but it's how I feel about that. And I feel people right now with inflation and everything, they work hard for their dollars. And
The one option that wasn't presented is the somewhere in between,
is what,
the in between.
yeah,
For instance, paying off 25 and 26,
right.
which would put us probably somewhere between 14 and 15%.
So Ruth and I have to figure out a way to knock 100 grand off the county budget next week.
Right,
Done.
we'll do it.
So I think there's some options to consider here, especially paying the debt service off.
No, that's good
You know,
thinking.
even if we take 25 and 26 off, depending on where we are.
Pushing all the chips in, I say. I'm not quite there yet.
I know you're not. I was the only one that.
Well,
And I-
you're not.
The middle one actually sounds good.
They're all.
You know what?
I think that, you know what, good.
Not saying I'm quite there. but-
Going into, I don't make
I
any
don't know.
promises, but going into next year, I'm assuming we're gonna have some money left over, just like we did last year, because we're not spending, except for the capital accounts that will roll over. And we're expecting some grants, although not, it hasn't been handed over to us yet. And you know, all that kind of just saying, yeah, we're gonna get it, not get it, but there's some money that's potentially coming to us, somewhere around $500,000.
Were you able to figure out that protection for the electricity yet, any chance?
Naples.
Yeah, no.
I would just wait for another thing to roll in. We still have to meet with Nick Sampson from revision.
We're all about getting that online quick. Well, it's online. We're all about getting that money come July 1.
There is another thing I'd like to bring up that's not budget. We're not funding it. It's a top community fund. Oh, okay, great, sorry. Almost the same brief as last year, no meetings, we recommend no funding in this budget. However, our balance is right around $75,756. The community center committee is meeting, depending on where that goes, there's money there for this purpose.
Side by side.
And I've got some. left
Two
over.
for-
Yeah. Get some lights for the top of it.
Move the squirrels out of the way.
And
So what, so this is supposed to, why hasn't the group come together and done any meetings? Has it been a COVID thing or they just, nobody's interested in driving this anymore?
I think it's a combination of both.
They just got formed recently, right? They said
No,
they're gonna
2 years.
I'm talking about I'm sorry, not this, I'm talking about the community center.
Oh, no, this, yeah, I think they just got a couple. Well, I think quorum is like them, like the finance, it's those that are appointed. So,
I think now we
you can
can
always have core.
They
Depending on the
haven't been
community
very
center
active.
committee, I mean, this is something we can.
No, this was designed in a different time frame of Topsham, right? There was always that, and I've said this before, and I'm pounding a dead horse. There was a time where people felt we were not investing in and doing things there, trail work or other things. That's not the way Topsham is anymore. It's kind of encompassed into the rec department. It's encompassed into what they're doing with what's happened out at the dump and other departments, the dump is doing it, and Dennis's group is out chipping in. All these departments, it's become a way of life that we're putting community investments in. So I don't know it seems as though this has worn out its need.
I think it's kind of died.
Though it would have to go to town meeting to disappear. It's not like we could just do away. But I think it's something to start to consider. There's a different mentality in Topsham than it was 15 years ago.
And I absolutely agree with that. I think things have evolved. I think the trails up to the landfill recycling center has been really good. And I think what the fairgrounds did last weekend, over 1,000 people went. I think that's fantastic. And that's the community coming together for more sports and more things like that. And I think it's like Dave said, it's evolving. And I just get the sense from what people, that this is kind of died and petered out. And even the committee is not coming back and reporting to us. They're not doing a plan. They did the survey and that's it. That's my thinking. So what do we do with this money? Maybe wait another year to see what happens, or
You're gonna get a request in probably a month or so. The community center committee is gonna, end of this month, is gonna meet with the UNH consultant to do the needs assessment. It was very reasonable, but still, I think somewhere around 7,000 or something. So the community center committee is gonna come pitch to you and ask permission, or that's a possibility. This might be a way to fund it.
Yeah, I mean, people created this fund under an assumption, right? Topsham Community Fund. I don't think you wash that back in the general fund. I'm just envisioning it's time to take it to town meeting to stop the process, because the process isn't happening.
I mean, that was originally called quality of.
Quality of life,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
then we asked, what's the quality of life?
And everyone's is different.
I do have that. Politically correct.
Dump,
I dump my stuff.
no, dump.
I
Should
dump
say
my
transfer
stuff.
station.
Nope. I don't care what happens after I dump my stuff. I don't.
Doesn't sound as pretty, Dave.
I don't. This?
Yeah.
Gosh.
Oh, so we started
It
out
might have
with,
started before I moved.
Like 2000 odds.
That was 01,
I think you were here.
was it?
Yeah, we started out with like 50,000, I think, or 25, and then it went to 50. And people got upset because it said quality of life. Well, quality of life could mean
Lots of things.
expansion of the library, it could be better roads, which Dennis has done. It could be a better ambulance. It's what people's perception is.
Or side by side.
Right. Oh, like just, yeah, saving people in the woods.
In fiscal year 20, 27,000 was put into it.
See,
And we did a lot of those signages.
Which is those sign.
Yeah.
Then it was 15,000 fiscal year 19, and it was 10,000 previous to that year.
I think that's too.
Yeah, it was somewhere, I don't know when the change, even the change from quality of life to community fund, probably double digits ago, I would think,
I think so. I think you're right.
so we're talking, this is a long time.
I would like to, one last department, Department 40, page 31. of expenses. Okay, all of this is pretty much mandatory for CEAs, except for the bottom line. In this bottom line, 508,520, was money appropriated to TDI. Now, meeting with TDI tomorrow morning, they may want to come back to the board. But I'm gonna let them know that we're not funding this year. At least that's my recommendation for a couple of reasons. One, by paying the debt service off, we're maximizing more TIF sheltering than we have in previous years, just by paying some debt. Secondly, just to keep the money down a little bit without a real strategic plan moving forward, outside of the good things they've done already, putting the water connection point on Can-Am and doing the market survey, and probably one more survey coming. Their balance right now is over $300,000 in their account. So if they want to come back to the board, it's up to them. My recommendation is wait. We have next year and a year after, especially have more flexibility with the debt service paid off, that we can continue to increase our sheltering capability in the interchange district, which is done by Topsham Fair Mall, knowing that there's going to be some future development there, hopefully. And we're gonna have to do some probably road work once they get the surveys back and that sort of thing. So we will maximize TIF sheltering more so than we ever have in the next few years, to include this year in the interchange area. I think within the last 3 years, we'll be better off. So that's my reason for not over $50,000 this year. But tomorrow, when they have their meeting, that might be different. They might want to come back in front of the board and request some funding.
But then, before they come back, they need to have some sort of plan to us. They were supposed to, we've done this, and they were supposed to have a plan to us also. Correct, what their long-term.
Well, initially, their target was $300,000.
Right.
I haven't really gotten an update on an increase in that target. All we know is that they did a few things that were beneficial to the community, but where do we stop? Where do we begin? What's the cap? What are we looking at? What's the strategic plan for these funds? Because, like I said, if we start investing in the Topsham Fair Mall area, we'll have flexibility in the next couple of years. We can put these in TIF reserve accounts specific to projects.
Have we cut the heating budget here?
We actually, Mark's been working with a tech from Train. We've had him out here. I put it in our update to my term is calibrate. Theirs is recommission the system, because it's some deep software. I'll let Mark continue with the rest.
I think what's happened tonight is the building's now in unoccupied status, so it drops down.
Okay.
So we can adjust that in meeting nights.
That would be nice.
Are you cold too?
We've had-
Yes, yeah,
I
good.
think it keeps people moving. People out.
Comfortable.
We ought to turn the AC on.
Actually, Derek had asked me, he said, if you can get the heat a little lower, we'll get out of here quicker.
Right.
Yeah.
Freeze it, once their toes are done, we're out. Your toes are cold, we're out.
Well, actually, just make everybody stand.
We'll
You'll get
be-
tired a
Yeah.
lot faster.
Do a lot.
Yeah.
All right, so that's it, right?
Right. The upcoming months, we'll be looking at contract gas prices. I'll come back to you with. We have a few other answer questions. The two budgets, county and school, and state revenue sharing.
I would, so you guys have your dates, probably start discussing. We started setting dates, just to the group here, we were gonna get together March 8 and 10. March 8, Ruth reminded, was our meeting with SAD 75. So I would throw out 9 and 10, make it a 3-day weekend, 3-day week, with the goal of maybe done in the 9th, but keep the 10th. So I'll send that back out. And as far as the school, I think the more just regular old citizens call up and say, hey, we need to start having access to a budget. People need to see it. I don't think it's gonna hurt. The quicker we can see that number and gives us an idea what we're gonna do with our, I mean, the fact that Derek went to their meeting that night and they had nothing for the public at all. No handouts for what they were discussing or anything.
I'll tell you, when they
Things
lost-
need to be, they need to be open.
when they lost Mount Conrad, they lost a great financial person.
Going back to the library discussion,
Bill Thompson has a question too.
that'll be you and.
It'll be all-
Oh,
No, it's been you
Been
two,
rolling and I.
right? But I think we're gonna talk and set a date. Do you want everyone? Is your whole board looking for everyone or what do you? I think we should probably, that's my thought.
Okay. I think
everyone
that wouldn't be a bad idea.
workshop or rolling throughout, we'll talk. But, or an agenda item or something.
Yeah, I mean, yes, we are, available.
Yeah.
When we can work a day,
Yeah.
except for not in the next 10 days, because you're gonna be away.
Right, I'm not zooming in, rolling with you. Yeah.
Chair, Bill Thompson has a question when you're ready.
Oh, go ahead, Bill.
Hey, you need, just on a note, if remote meetings are going to be the norm, you gotta do something about the sound because it's hard to understand. It's painful. Especially when mobile people are talking at the same time. So just throwing it out there. I mean, I can hear David when he speaks by himself, I can hear Derek, but as soon as people start chiming in, it just all turns into that digital garble. So just saying. Just like right there, I couldn't even hear it because it dropped out.
Thank you, Bill. Anything, Marie? I see her name.
Yeah.
Nope.
No, I'm good.
Thank you.
One thing, hey, Gail, I'll be zooming in tomorrow. So however you're going to set it up, so someone will need access to accept me.
We don't have a meeting tomorrow.
Tomorrow's Charter Commission.
Oh, okay. Well, I have to look at the schedule again. I don't know.
March 10th. 10th.
Okay.
Originally, I sent the same link for every meeting and I overshot it by a day to be safe. So you have tomorrow night off, Bill.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, I can't make them anyway because I'm getting I get a Zoom. I get like multiple Zoom reminders every single day. Saturday, Sunday. It's like, well, I think
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's your system manager.
Weekends,
Yeah, I mean, I'm already dumping 80% of my email I get anyway, than to be throwing Zoom. All on top of something's in jail.
Is that it?
Yeah. Thank you all.
Yo.
See you in March.
Thank you.